What's going on, all you true believers and newcomers alike? Superfly Comics Guy here, excited to bring you another omnibus review today of Thor by Jason Aaron, Volume 1. A recently released omnibus here that's been getting seemingly an endless amount of critical acclaim, but is it worthy? See what I did there? Of all that praise? Well, it's certainly better than Thor Love and Thunder, I will tell you that much. But that's what we're here to find out, so we'll be taking a look at the cover, the spine, the contents collected, the build quality, and of course a flip through where I discuss my thoughts, opinions, and recommendations. So, if you like this video, you know how to show it, and if you're a nerd like me, leave a comment down below sharing your thoughts, opinions, and recommendations. I'd be happy to discuss. And real quick, once again, thank you guys so much for 100 true believers. I did put out a very special bloopers and outtakes video just a few days ago to celebrate the milestone. So if you want to celebrate with me and have a laugh at me and all my various goofs and mishaps over the course of bringing you guys these videos, please feel free. It did take me a while to put together, but I think it turned out pretty nice. So go over there, take a look, let me know what you think. But anyways, on to the review. Alright guys, here we are, Thor by Jason Aaron, Volume 1. Real quick, I am trying out a new audio setup here, so let me know what you think, if it sounds better or worse than before. But anyway, here we have the standard cover to the Thor by Jason Aaron, Volume 1 Omnibus by Esad Ribic. That is how you say that name. There are two variant covers that I will show you as well once we get under the dust jacket. There is the spine for you, and the back. A pretty atypical design for dust jackets. You don't have your cover gallery here, you just have a bunch of images and panels from the book. You got Thor, another character who I won't spoil, Loki appears, and here we go. Cover price $125 US, $156.25 Canadian. I picked mine up for about 70 bucks after taking advantage of some Amazon discounts and gift cards, so pretty happy with that. And this collects Thor God of Thunder 1 through 25, Thor 2014 1 through 8, Thor Annual 2015 number 1, Thor's 1 through 4, and the Mighty Thor 1 through 12. Let's have a look under this dust jacket, as I mentioned before. Gorgeous, look at that. I wish I could have gotten this DM cover for my dust jacket, but I'm happy it's included underneath. You got this beautiful image by Russell Dodderman featuring a mysterious new Thor. I wonder who that could be. There's the spine, once again, pretty similar to the dust cover, and the other direct market variant cover, an image of Thor by Joe Quesada. But it's time to dive into the contents of this book. All right, time to dive into this puppy and see what awaits us. Oh, got a gorgeous splash here by Russell Dodderman. I will be talking much about him in a bit to come. Here you have, I wouldn't really call it a table of contents, it's more of a list of credits of all the people working on this series and the various parts. Yeah, you don't get a table of contents or page numbers, unfortunately, in this omnibus. But anyway, kicking it all off here. So yeah, this omnibus, this run by Jason Aaron, heavy inspiration for the movie Thor Love and Thunder. Although, gotta say, I found this book to be way better than the movie. Man, I was so disappointed with Love and Thunder. I don't know about you, but, let me know what you think. If you've seen the movie, what did you think of it? But anyway, here we have this first arc here, kicking it all off. The God Butcher. Gore the God Butcher, to be specific. So it opens up with this huge mystery. Thor discovers that gods all across the lands and realms are being murdered, butchered, and Thor has to investigate who is responsible for this. Lots of fun storytelling in here, and some really dark storytelling in here. I won't spoil anything, as usual, but it gets super creative. It involves multiple timelines, different versions of Thor having to interact with each other and work together. And man, we got to talk about the villain, Gore, the God Butcher himself. Man, what an intimidating force this guy was. A great villain. And invented for this run. This came out in, I think, 2013 is when this material was originally written by Jason Aaron. It's great to see new characters like Gore, for example, being created and being successful. But yeah, what a great villain. He doesn't have many redeeming qualities, but this arc here, oh, there's that bit from the Thor Love and Thunder trailer. You might recognize that. Yeah, he doesn't have many redeeming qualities, but it's kind of interesting. This whole arc, the God Butcher arc, has some interesting commentary on religion, Gore's reasoning behind butchering all these gods. What would the world be like without this idea of eternal damnation or lusting for an eternal reward? What do gods mean? Why do we worship them? That kind of thing. And the art for this first part of the book is done by Esad Ribic. I don't know if I wasn't really a fan of his artwork. I found that, I don't know, maybe it's the way he draws eyes. Oftentimes you would have like really weird fish eyes. Eyeballs would be drawn weirdly. It wasn't really jiving with me, his artwork. But overall, like, it wasn't bad. I think it worked well for this story. But I just wasn't a huge fan. Up next, we have an arc involving Malekith. Another character who's done way better in here than he was done in Thor the Dark World, for example. In my opinion, the most forgettable MCU movie. And over the course of this entire book, you'll see Malekith kind of becoming the main villain of the entire book. Starts terrorizing the different realms, and Thor has to put together kind of his own squad that he calls the League of Realms. A bunch of warriors from different realms, and they have to go up against Malekith, and he's drawn really, look at that. What an awesome drawing there. I believe Ron Garney draws this portion of the book, and I think he does a really, really good job. But yeah, Malekith starts to become the main antagonistic force throughout this book, and it's all kind of leading up to this huge event called War of the Realms, which will probably be included in Volume 2 of this run if they do an omnibus of that. But yeah, this was quite a good story as well, pretty dark. Between all of these big arcs, you do kind of get side stories, and those vary in quality. In my opinion, the art in those side stories isn't as good, and the art usually changes when those side stories show up. So it can be a little jarring there. For example, I remember there was an annual in here that kind of had some iffy art that I wasn't really a fan of. There's kind of a weird Thor's mini-series towards the end of this book where it was kind of just like its own separate story where like multiple Thors from different universes have to work together on a murder mystery. And I don't know, when that happens, it kind of like breaks up the flow of the book, so that kind of bothered me a little bit. But anyway, the next big arc you get in here is called The Last Days of Midgard, and this is a pretty interesting one. It involves this douchey Roxxon CEO called Dario Agger, who looks like a Mr. Freeze hench lady from like Batman the Animated Series, let's be honest. But anyway, he has his own dark secrets, which I won't spoil, but this entire arc is kind of all about climate change actually, because this annoying CEO is basically he's all about money and power, and he wants to exploit the earth for all its resources. And yeah, he's just a real piece of crap. But it asks some interesting questions, Thor. It's like, why is it worth fighting for a planet whose people don't want to fight for it? People are asking Thor, why do you care so much about protecting Earth, Midgard? You have the introduction of this new character, a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent known as Agent Roz Solomon, who I found to be really, really interesting. She wasn't just a useless side character who just sidelined throughout most of the story. She's pretty heavily involved throughout, and I found her to be a really good character. This is a really, really cool bit in here where like future Thor goes up against Galactus, and they have this whole standoff and debate about why is Thor still bothering to protect Earth after this long. Oh, I won't spoil it. It's so good. But then you have the next big arc, which in my opinion is where it really picks up. Thor 2014, featuring the introduction of this new Thor character here. So without spoiling anything, something happens that causes Thor, Odin's son, to become unworthy. But somebody needs to wield the hammer. The Earth needs a Thor. So what's going to happen? Who's going to wield it? And a new Thor appears to continue the legacy while Thor Odinson strives to redeem himself. And it's a mystery at first who it is. They don't reveal it outright. I mean, by this point, most people probably know who this is, but if you're not, for whatever reason, if you don't know the identity of this mystery new Thor, I am going to talk about it a little bit. So it's super, super minor spoiler for the identity of that mystery Thor. If you don't want to hear about that, I'll leave a part for you to skip to, but I will talk about it a little bit. But anyway, we find out that the new Thor is none other than Jane Foster. And this is where my excitement really started to build again. What an engrossing character she was. She's so interesting. It's actually kind of funny. She speaks like Thor when she's speaking out loud, but she has this inner monologue where it's actually her normal voice. But man, she was so cool. She starts out naive, a little bit green. Some support her taking up the mantle. Others, namely some in Asgard, are absolutely furious with her. But man, by the end of this book, she really proves why she is Thor, and a badass one at that. But she also learns that there is a heavy cost associated with wielding Mjolnir. It's not all fun and super heroics, and I won't spoil that particular detail, but it brings a supremely interesting duality to the character. Moments of weakness, not all just super heroics and power. But it's kind of interesting that Jane Foster Thor was, I think, in a What If issue, maybe number 10 of Volume 1, and now she's an actual character in the main universe. It's awesome, and we gotta talk about this. Russell Dodderman art. In my opinion, he is the superstar of this omnibus. He draws some of the most spectacular splash pages you will ever see. And the colorist, whose name escapes me at the moment, is to be praised as well. The colors are really screaming at you this whole time. Just fantastic panel after fantastic panel. But yeah, this book is chock full of great characters, from Thor to the mystery new Thor, Agent Roz Solomon here, a bunch of characters from Asgard. Odin is classically a dick, as usual. Loki makes appearances, but you also have a whole host of villainous characters like Malekith and Gore and some others who I won't spoil. So good. I will say, as good as these stories are, this book still took me a long time to read. A few weeks, actually, in total. For someone like me who really could not care less about Thor in general, this was a lot of Thor. And I'm kind of Thored out after reading all of it.
I'm Thor, but not complaining.
But I still acknowledge that I enjoyed what I read while I was reading it. It's really well written and a really good story. But anyway, on to the extras. Pretty neat here. You have some afterwords by Jason Aaron, and actually some letter pages, which I was happy to see. Usually they only include those in like Silver Age omnibuses, but I was happy to see a more modern letters page being included for an omnibus here. And then we have some sketches by Issa Dribic, who, like I said, I wasn't the biggest fan of in this book, but it was by no means bad. It's just up to personal taste at that point. He was really good at selling the action, no doubt about that. Lots of good action moments in here, and you get a good chunk of extras. Oh, but Russell Dodderman was my favorite artist in this entire omnibus. So good. If I had to criticize maybe like one piece of Russell Dodderman's art, it's maybe that sometimes when there's a lot of stuff happening on the page at once, the line work can get a little bit confusing. But that's really a nitpick. I was enthralled by his artwork throughout this. But anyway, quick flip through here, just a few more extras, variant covers. That's mostly what you're getting here. And there you go. Let me quickly talk about the build quality. So, 1,216 pages is what you get in this omnibus. There is that eye. Not really the biggest eye, and I was pretty aggressive with my stretching of this book, and that's about all I could get out of it. Unfortunately, I did have quite a few issues with gutter loss in this book. Let me see if I can find an example of that. Yeah, so here's a spread page of Mighty Thor #1, the cover. And yeah, you can see Mighty Thor here is completely lost to the abyss of this gutter, unfortunately. Yeah, it's a problem with this book. As for the page quality, the pages are pretty thin. Fortunately, the artwork is usually able to hide page bleed, but when it does happen, when page bleed does happen, it's pretty bad, especially on white pages. So much so that sometimes you're not only are you seeing artwork from the other side, but sometimes you're seeing artwork 2 pages deep. So not just from the other side of the page, but like the next page under it. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but for example, I can see quite clearly this text box here all the way from this page here. So it's not great. My particular copy also had some pages that were had some glue, I guess, dropped in them, so some of the pages were actually stuck together and it ended up ruining a little bit of the artwork. So I gotta say, the build quality of this particular omnibus is probably the worst part about it. But anyways, just to wrap up some general thoughts here, I gotta say, I don't have much experience reading Thor, nor am I particularly interested in him as a character, but I still found this book to be very enjoyable. Albeit perhaps not as earth-shatteringly, life-changingly amazing as its reputation might suggest. But if you already are a fan of Thor, then I'd say the likelihood is very high that you'll enjoy this. The highlights of this book for sure are Jason Aaron's writing, with stories like The God Butcher, and then of course Russell Dodderman's phenomenal artwork later in the new Mighty Thor series. Some parts in the middle of the book and some of the side stories for me definitely dragged a bit though. But I found this to be way better than Thor Love and Thunder. So much more depth and intricacy here. So if you liked that movie, then you'll almost certainly appreciate this. But anyways, guys, that's been my review of Thor by Jason Aaron, Volume 1. Let me know what you thought about the review, the book, Thor Love and Thunder, anything. Whatever you want to talk about, I'll be happy to discuss. And yeah, if you've seen it, let me know what you thought about the bloopers video that I made last time, what you thought. I had quite some fun with that. But anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to catch you guys in another video real soon. So you have yourself a great day. I've been Superfly Comics Guy, and until next time, keep reading. Bye, guys.